2022 flew by and we are in October already? Anyway, I decided to do my favorite plugins series, and we start with this one, my favorite plugins for Tubas. Let's go. Hello everyone, welcome back to MixBus TV. Hope you're having a great day. Before we start, please check the info box down below for my mixing courses on Pro Mix Academy, free plugins, special discounts and offers. And of course, if you really want to learn how to mix and master professionally, click the join button down here, become a MixBus TV member, access the already big and always growing library of full mixing courses on so many different genres, mastering courses, special videos and a lot more. And if the videos are helping you, please consider using the super thanks and support the channel. Let's get to our list. All right, this wants to be a quick list, so I'm not gonna try every single plugin, also because for many of them we already have a dedicated video here on the channel. And I'm also gonna make other favorite plugins lists, like for vocals, for mastering, EQ, reverbs and so on, but I'm gonna try few of them. And we start with the first one by Acustica Audio Studio DMI, and this plugin kind of blew my mind and I've been using it on my mixes on many different sources, and it's the L-Ray compressor, and this thing sounds pretty ridiculous. Also, it's super easy to use. You literally have just an input, a threshold, the makeup gain, dry wet knob, attack and release, and a filter. But it's one of those plugins that it really gives me the analog feeling. I hate to say things like that, but this one just sounds great. It kind of inhales the suckiness out of the tracks and gives you good stuff in return. So I'm just gonna try it really quick on a mix. Without it,
I'm just trying to sound like what real sound like. I'm still the same down guy, same down vibes. I know that you heard this, I deserve this. After what the hurt did, it done turned out perfect. I'm just trying to sound like what real sound like. I'm still the same down guy, same down vibes. I know that you heard this, I deserve this. After what the hurt did, it done turned out perfect. I told you I'd make it.
Talk about warmth, all right? This is definitely a colored compressor plugin for sure. You can hear a pretty noticeable increase in color in the low end, and it kind of does something in the mid-range. It just makes things smoother, and to some extent we can say it takes away a little bit of details, but it does it in such a musical way. It's just listening to it, it becomes more pleasant to my ears. I am generally very impressed with this plugin. Like I said, I've been using it in my mixes very often on groups, on vocals, not on the Tubas, because I think something this colored, it's better if you mix into it. And also I have a lot of hardware, but if you don't have the amount of hardware that I have at your disposal for the Tubas, this is a great plugin that really gives you some added value on your Tubas. Acustica Audio L-Ray is our first favorite Tubas plugin. Second, if I want a colored character Tubas EQ, more often than not, I find myself going to the Hstlr Curve Bender by Softube. This plugin is just amazing. Regardless how close it is to the real deal, I absolutely love this plugin. We have a dedicated video on the channel, and I call this the king of the mid-range. And I stand by it because it's got such a great, nice color in the mid-range and the top end. The low end is still great. Sometimes it's not as focused as I would like. Still, 50% of the time I also use. Let me show you really quick a couple of go-to settings that I have for this.
Them are some big pretenders, so me take away myself from them. Take away myself from them. Ulterior agenda, so me take away myself from them. Take away myself from them. Bad vibes send me take away myself from them. Take away myself from them. Man I go like we no member, but them devious ways that me dey condemn. Well, me no care if a friend or so-called brothers. Me find out say them know how we climb up the ladder. Flip out with them again, me nah go bother. Link up with clean-hearted strangers on me radar. In a me territory, me nah make them chat ya. Cause enough of them a thief and robber. Feel a little piece of land, them woulda kill them own a mother. Lucky them in me shower some radar. Them are some big pretenders, so me take away myself from them. Take away myself.
Very simple, as you can see, subtle moves with this EQ, usually, especially if you have it on the Tubas. The top end I really like is colored, and because of that, you just need maybe 1 dB or 1.5, and it opens up the mix so well. And the mid-range, the presence 1 or 2, I reach out for that when I want to bring the vocals out. It's just a crazy good tool to bring up like the presence of, you know, the main elements in the mix, whether it's electric guitar or vocals in this case. And the low end, again, 50% of the time does, and I usually don't use the shelf. As you can see here, I switch to bell because I kind of want to keep it focused. and maybe I tighten up the low end using the high pass filter. But this is a pretty common, frequencies could change, but so you understand how I tend to use this EQ, which is absolutely great. Number 3, I mentioned this in a recent video and in an old video in which I was trying to find plugins to replace my hardware, and I said this plugin is a good replacement for my Neve 542s. It's the Mac DSP AC202. This plugin is just great. It's a tape emulator, again, very simple, but what I really like about this one is that low bump that it gives me and how versatile the low bump is, because we have on this one several different tape machines that change the curve, as you can see, of the low bump and the roll off. So you can move that low bump and add that really round and solid low end, and at the same time cleaning up what is not needed in the sub range, and also has this kind of natural compression, just like tape, but it's so much more versatile because we have a plugin. Really quick. You hear how much more weight it adds to the 808 and kick. At the same time, you can see the compression gently catches those boosted kicks and 808, so it keeps the dynamic under control, tight and solid. We couldn't have a favorite for 2-bus plugin list without a compressor. Lately, I've been trying the new SSL Bus Compressor 2, which of course is the new and updated digital replica of the legendary SSL G bus compressor. Because I have 2 hardware SSL style compressors here and a 3rd coming in, I wasn't really actively looking for an SSL style 2-bus compressor, and I wasn't up to date. But I got all the SSL plugins when we did the Fusion plugin versus hardware series. I got this one as well and started trying it. And I gotta say, it sounds really, really good.
Rock a few, if you spot this dynamic dude, fuck a crew, me and Pete will fucking do. Belgium overall, the temple of ball, never break, never fall, in for the long haul. Kings of chaos, titans of terror, say my name 5 times in the mirror, and I appear, you get shook with the right hook, bend over, game over. Peacock and Masterson, ha, feel the rush of adrenaline, yeah. Back again, pump the right medicine, pick up the veterans. Peacock and Masterson, ha, feel the rush of adrenaline, yeah. Pull back again, pump the right medicine, pick up the veterans.
Y'all break bread, I break ribs. I just stay factious, spit fibs. Y'all straight bitch with no tears, relying on dope and iron with dope is. Your shit so soft like Bull Ridge. I feel sorry for your moms and I petty your kids. Bunch of one-trick ponies, no.
All right, you can hear it. It's got that glue factor. I usually use this metaphor. It's like when you're tighten your shoes, right? You pull the laces and your shoes like get tied around your foot. This is kind of the feeling that I get with this compressor or any SSL style compressor. There's a lot of SSL style, both plugins and hardware, and some lean towards the punchiness more and some more towards the glue. I put this one in the second category. I really like it. 4 tape saturation on the 2-bus, but I gotta be honest, I use this plugin on so many elements in my mixes. It could be vocals, it could be return of effects just to use the wow and flutter function here, or the boost on the high end. I use it on a lot of things. The reason why is because, first of all, the quality of this plugin is crazy, tape by Softtube, but also because it's very, very versatile. It has a very wide range of subtle types of saturation. This is why I like to use it on many tracks in my mixes, because it's a cumulative effect. But at the same time, on my 2-bus, I don't want to be too heavy-handed, so I like that it's subtle. and at the same time I have versatility. We have 3 types of tape, A, B, and C. We have the tape speed, which changes the response on the top end. We have the amount of saturation that we want, and then in the panel we have all these additional control, wobble, high frequency trim, crosstalk. Simple again, but it gives me enough control to have versatility. It also has a run stop function for effects. But let's try it really quick on a mix with my, again, most common settings.
As me tell you about this little youth we contemplate. Say he must eat the food till him lick down pan plate. So the little youth decide to put big gun pan waist. Say him while out and go all insane. Say him hotter than that brother run to all in vain. Mama rose to him was all in vain. Now she cry and a ball in pain. Just because the youth start rob and kill. And say him not go stop until well, as them sell it by the gun, dead by the gun. And so by it, him wanna brain get pop and spill. Now him gone, can't see him again. Sad song I sing for him again. No advice, mama can't give him again. I know me not go see my friend.
Again, subtle, but you notice how I tend to use it. I kind of want that smooth top end when I use this one. And A, B are my favorite settings, usually 15, unless I put it kind of late in the mix and I don't want to mess up with the balance too much, so I leave it at 30. But I like to just back off the high frequency a little bit. It just gives me that cozy feeling at the top and it takes away the edge from it. C is usually a little too colored in the mid-range for me for 2-bus. I use C, for example, on returns of effects and I just really crank it. Although you can see it, I really crank it. I mean, when I use this plugin, it is subtle, so I just slam it. You know, I just want to hear the action. I want to hear it working. And again, for some people, this might be too subtle, but this is pretty much how a well-maintained high-end tape machine works. It's not like a color box unless you do something wrong. I show you this one so many times, you're probably gonna be blue in the face, but you know what? It's still one of my favorites and it's so versatile. There's the new version, Ozone 10 Exciter multiband. Is the only multiband saturator, not hardware, that I use. And when I use it on the 2-bus is usually because I don't wanna use EQ. This is literally my alternative to straight EQ on the 2-bus. And usually I gravitate around triode and analog algorithm for subtle. For more aggressive types of saturation, I like retro, I like tape, I like dual triode. But for 2-buses, usually it's either analog or triode. Let's give this a quick shot. Turn on oversampling. That's it, you see, super simple. I usually tend to drive the amount of the bands like pretty high and then mix it underneath and just use the mix sliders to mix a little bit of that. I find that that's how it works best, to kind of drive whatever algorithm you're using until you actually hear a big difference and then just mix it into it. Last one, I recently got this one, STL Tones Control Hub. The guys at STL sent it to me and just to hear what I thought about it. And I think this plugin is a small revolution, if anything, because it could literally be a one-stop shop plugin for 2-bus. I'm not gonna go into detail because again, I'm probably gonna do a video on it, but you basically have packs. You can see here, Mark Lewis, Neal Averon, Will Putney, and many others. And they modeled their chain with the settings that they most commonly use. And they made it simple. You basically load one and it comes with a bunch of presets. You can see Will Putney, for example, drum, bass, guitar, vocals, mix bus master, okay? And in here we have mix compression aggressive, mix compression fat, and so on, EQ metal, EQ rock. So you load one, let's do a mastering chain polished. You can see you have a pre-EQ, a color section, a compressor section, a master EQ, effects if you need it. In this case, they are not activated here, and a limiter. And every time you change the preset, of course. Some of them are not engaged. It means that for that specific purpose, mix compression safe. For example, it doesn't use EQ, it just EQs a little bit of color, a little bit of compression. That's it. So it's great because you have the basic, most commonly used tools with starting point settings. And you can see here, it tells you what they modeled. In this case, for these presets, they modeled the Alan Smart C2 and the SSL Boss Comp. And the color comes from the console. Let's try this one, for example. And let's say, for example, in this case, he added a little too top end for me, which I think it comes from the color. So I'm just gonna turn this off and see how it sounds. Okay, and this is just the first random preset that I grabbed, but you get the idea. If you're not familiar, you wanna give this a try. And I think this is it for this video. These were my favorite 2-bus plugins 2022, but I wanna know which one are yours favorite 2-bus plugins in the comments down below. The links to all this are gonna be in the info box. If you liked the video, please don't forget to leave a like. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time.
Hands on my neck, hands grip my throat. Lift me up,